In our study of Matthew's Gospel, we are now going to look at Matthew chapter 3 and verse 5, reading from the New King James Version. Then Jerusalem, all Judea, and all the regions around the Jordan went out to him. In my church tradition, the Sunday evening service used to be a staple. Church on Sunday was not just one service, it was two. Nowadays, the Sunday evening service has gone the way of the dodo bird. So what happened? Well, simple story is Walt Disney came to television on Sunday night. The advent of radio and then television programming transformed Sunday night. At one point in time, the church had limited competition. In a way, it was the only show in town. In particular, if you were in a rural church, not necessarily one in a large city, that was often the case. There were no other options. And now, today, we see the undermining of the morning worship service by sports or even things like ballet, where there is all sorts of competition for the time slot. John the Baptist was not just a prophet. He was the star of the show. I'm not saying John did what he did to draw attention to himself. What I am saying is that the crowds that went out to see him did not all do that for the right reason. In that sense, understand John the Baptist was putting on a show. I suspect that in all eras of life, people look for a little excitement, something that takes them away from the monotony of everyday life. Remember, there were not the entertainment options back then. In particular, there were not the entertainment options for those who were outside the larger Roman centers. There was no television, no radio, no internet, no mass market publications, whether it be books, magazines, etc. This was the way it was. It is disrespectful to some to think that church is a form of entertainment. In the modern era, unfortunately, worship has been reduced to the song portion of the service. To have a song package in a service is to engage in worship. Music has a rightful place in worship. Music, though, must serve the whole of the service. A service needs a full and complete liturgy. Now, using the word liturgy doesn't mean that we are saying it has to have a formal liturgy as in a high church tradition versus low church. I do not therefore mean necessarily leaders in robes carrying incense through the sanctuary. Worship is not worship unless it has prayer, confession, the scripture, the offering, the message, and the benediction. You see, worship is ever in danger of serving our desire to be entertained and to not be discipled. The crowds came to see John the Baptist, and some of them came to see the show. John the Baptist, I think, was only too aware that not all people were there for the right reason. You see, that is not the problem. We want people to come to church for the wrong reasons. In fact, we want people to come to church for just about any reason. You see, it is never whether the motives of people are pure and right when they come to church. It is whether those who lead in the church and lead worship understand that they are there not to entertain. It is whether they see their job as leading people to an encounter with the living God. It is whether the leaders see that the whole of the service can be complete and perfect and fail miserably because God was not the center. We go to church to encounter the living God.